Everybody, and welcome to Against the Fence. Hello, welcome, and hope you're doing okay on this fine Tuesday. This is your aftermath show for UFC 279, and in this show, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to be recapping the main card. We're going to be talking about a possibility of Nate Diaz fighting Conor McGregor, having the trilogy. We're going to be talking about Khamzat's next move, whether or not it's going to be at middleweight or welterweight. We're going to be talking about Johnny Walker getting thrown out of the arena on the weekend. And then we're also going to take a look at the fighter rankings from UFC.com. So don't you dare go anywhere. All right, straight into it then. Let's kick it off by talking about Johnny Walker defeating... Oh, sorry, I pressed the wrong button here, didn't I? Woo! There we go. Johnny Walker defeating Cuțelaba via rear naked choke in round number 1. And look, man, what an impressive display from Johnny. Because, you know, he looked better without the stress of being in a main event. You know, he kind of had to... the pressure was off, you know, and he was fighting an absolute killer at the same time. You know, all right, granted, Eon's recent record hasn't been as good, okay? But it was Eon who kind of, you know, caught the kick of Johnny and got the fight to the ground. We said during our expectations in the watch-along that I felt that Cuțelaba was going to be the one initiating takedowns and looking to kind of smash Johnny on the ground, really. But look, it was Johnny's ability to scramble back to his feet from Eon's guard pass. He was looking to, I think, advance into mount at the time. And it just opened up the opportunity for Johnny to take the back. And, you know, Johnny's a very big, physical, light heavyweight. And for me, and I've said before, I felt that Cuțelaba is quite small for the division. You know, I would like to see him at middleweight. I really would, if he was able to kind of, you know, discipline himself a little bit. Unfortunately for Cuțelaba, it's 1 win in his last 6 now. It's going to be slim pickings for him. Whether or not the UFC still keep him around, I would hope so. I think it's time for a step back. Obviously, Johnny was ranked at the time, you know, I think it's a good ideal move for him. But let's have a look then at the rankings for the light heavyweight division. And as you can clearly see there, Johnny Walker's moved up some spots. He's in now at number 11. Leapfrog's Ryan Spann, of course, who he does have a win over, I believe. But yeah, not good for Cuțelaba. He wasn't ranked at the time. Like I said, his only win was against Devin Clark. We absolutely smashed Devin Clark's face to bits for 3 rounds. But look, you know, I think Johnny... It's a much needed win for Johnny. It was going to be painstaking to see him lose this one. It wouldn't have been good at all. Yeah, as I say, his last win was Ryan Spann back in 2020. Quite some time ago now. It feels like forever ago. But I guess we should really talk about what's next for Johnny Walker. Now, I touched upon it. We all touched upon it at the weekend and felt that his ideal match up next should be somebody like Paul Craig. Because as you can see there, Paul Craig's in at number 9. It's only 2 spots above Johnny Walker. Of course, Johnny Walker has lost to Nikita Krylov, who's just above him. So, you know, I don't see a rematch happening straight after, to be honest. That wasn't that long ago. With Paul Craig, for me, he's 16-5, 1 draw, I think it is, or no contest. He's coming off a loss against Volkan Oezdemir, which wasn't really a great performance. You know, that was at UFC London. He just pretty much tried to pull Oezdemir into his guard the whole time. Against Johnny Walker, I'd favored Johnny in terms of like the physicality of him and the size of him. I think he'd be a bit of a problem on the feet for Paul Craig. Paul Craig would probably want to be on the floor with this. Again, it's just whether or not he can submit Johnny Walker, really. Has Johnny Walker even been submitted? He's been submitted once. That was way back before he even entered the UFC, so quite some time ago. Could somebody like Paul Craig get the submission against him? Absolutely. I couldn't see why not. Paul Craig was on a bit of a tear until he hit Volkan Oezdemir. But like I said, it's the physicality of Johnny Walker, which kind of, for me, makes it a bit of a tough matchup for Paul Craig. The other option I've got for Johnny, which I think would be a bit more better suited for him, perhaps, would be someone like Dustin Jacoby, who's 18-5 as a professional at the moment. He hasn't lost in 9 fights. And he deserves a bit of a step up. As you can see there, he's ranked at number 13 there. So 2 spots below Johnny. It's whether or not the UFC are ready to give him an opponent above, really. Like I said, he's had a lot of struggles as Johnny Walker. A lot of it down to just fine-tuning the basics a little bit in his game, which he has been doing over at SBG in Ireland. As I say, didn't really see much striking in that fight, but it was on the ground, which was where he kind of shone in that. Would have been interested to see what it was like if the fight had gone past the first round. See where whether or not Ion Cuțelaba would be the same Ion Cuțelaba in rounds 2 and 3, and whether or not Johnny would still be able to survive the onslaught. But nonetheless, he gets the job done in quick succession. As for Ion Cuțelaba, though, he's now 16-8. Unfortunately, I've got one option for him, and I quite like this one. I think he should take on somebody like William Knight, who's 11-4 at the moment. He's on a 2-fight losing streak as well. So it's like, do you pair up the 2 losers together? Maybe in a fight night, something like that. I could probably see that happening. This is, again, William Knight is somebody, like I said, it's very physical, quite powerful as well. It matches up very well against Cuțelaba. Again, Cuțelaba's he's very entertaining. He is, and it would pain me to see him go. I don't want to see him go just yet. I think he'll stick around. Hopefully, the UFC will do him justice. Let us know in the chats whether or not you've got another, or in the comments, of course, if you've got any other options for both Johnny Walker or Ion Cuțelaba, because we're going to be moving on now to the second fight of the evening, which was indeed in the women's, well, it was a catchweight, but both women are in the bantamweight division. It was Irene Aldana who picked up the win in the 3rd round against Macy Chiasson. An up kick to the body. Man, this was crazy. Never seen anything like it before. Usually you see up kicks to the head. Apparently Aldana came out and said that she had been training that up kick. It'd be interesting to see whether many more people try to utilize it now on the ground, because that looked painful for Chiasson. But overall, the fight was just such a back and forth battle. She was against a very sort of quick striker in Chiasson. She's very loose on her feet. That's normally a lot of straight punches down the pipe. But for me, Aldana's grappling ability surprised me a lot. She can do quite a lot on the ground. She was able to kind of nullify Kunitskaya in her fight and was able to put her away, I think, via strikes, ground and pound. And Kunitskaya is quite good down there as well. So yeah, it really impressed me. She did win. She clearly won the first round. Was it the first round? I can't remember how I scored it. But it was definitely close going into that third. It was, and Chiasson started the 3rd round very good, very, very solid. And look, Irene Aldana got the job done in the end. If it was going to go to a decision, look, she could have lost the decision there because, like I said, Chiasson was looking good. But what is next for both of these women? Well, for me, it's 2 options. It depends on how the scenario plays out. It depends on what Amanda Nunes wants to do. I've got Ketlin Vera, which is, I think, the least likely option. She's currently 13-2 at the moment. Man, she's on a tear. She deserves a title shot effectively, but it depends on, like I said, it depends on Amanda Nunes. She's taking time off at the moment, and I think it depends on the time frame. We're not going to see a third fight against Julian Pena. It's not happening. Katlin Vera 2-fight win streak. Holly Holm was the last opponent, of course. She looked good. Wasn't like a blow your hair back type of performance, admittedly, but it is what it is. I'm gonna pop this chat back up. But yeah, I think Ketlen Vera, I'd like to see that fight. I think Aldana's going to be a lot quicker on the feet. Ketlen Vera is going to be a little bit more sort of plod forward, look to land with heavy strikes. But the other option I've got, I think is the most likely one. And I think Raquel Pennington is probably going to be likely because she's on a 4-fight win streak at the moment, and I should probably really get into the rankings. Really, to be honest, I don't know why we're still here. Again, not really much movement because she defeated someone below her in the rankings, but Pennington's just one spot below her. And yeah, I think Pennington, it'll be an all-out striking affair. The winner probably is next in line, but I think that fight with Pennington will only materialize if Nunes is going to step back in there maybe early next year against Ketlen Vera, because Ketlen Vera is pretty much the only other option for Amanda Nunes. But if Amanda Nunes is extending her time out, then I think Aldana versus Vieira is the fight to make, for the number one contender spot. That's pretty much my options. As for Macy Chiasson, though, I think it's fair to say I think she's going to get the loser of this weekend's fight, which is the Sharon McMahon versus Aspen Ladd. Aspen Ladd at number 7, of course, as you can see there. Sarah McMahon in at number 8. So, look, the person would be, two spots below her. Yeah, she'd be fighting up again, but, in and around there, I can't really see anyone else, really. I think we've got a lot of fighters. Well, we got 2 fighters booked at the moment. Carl Rosa is taking on Lena Landsberg, and that's it. Chiasson's already fought Penny Khamzat. I'll probably bollocks that name up. Julia Avila maybe could be a possibility. She's on 1-fight winning streak. She's only 9-2. So when you look at that, you got to think, well, okay, Chiasson's 8-3. So similar kind of records. Bit of a jump for Avila, of course. Recently fought Stoliarenko. That fight was back in, that was ages ago. She should have fight ASAP. Last fought March 2021. Woo! All right, don't know what's going on there. But yeah, maybe either of those options I think is probably best for Macy Chiasson. We'll go into the third fight of the evening, which was, of course, a highly anticipated bout. A quick change around, of course. Daniel Rodriguez defeating Li Jingliang via split decision. Now, a lot of you felt that Jingliang was robbed. I think Jingliang actually gained quite a lot of fans from this past weekend because, look, he was seen in Embedded, rocking a new suit. He was so excited to show it off at the press conference, and then all of a sudden there was just a massive commotion and the press conference didn't happen. So I think a lot of people kind of, their hearts warmed up to Lee a little bit during that fight week, and the fact that he didn't get the win and should have won, I think kind of adds to it a little bit. So people feel sorry for him. Now D-Rod has come out and kind of said like he'd be willing to run it back because he's getting a lot of criticism about it, and okay, maybe rightly so, maybe it could happen. But if we would take a look at the rankings for the fight, of course, nothing changes. I don't think Lee's dropped. Rodriguez, I think, was already in there, wasn't he? I can't remember. What does it say on here? Might give me an update. Because normally they put arrows next to the fighters, but we're not seeing that at the moment. Actually, no, Lee was, because my page on Wikipedia hasn't even updated yet. So, you've got Rodriguez in at number 14. Lee was in at 14. But yeah, I think, it was a very technical bout at the moment. Back and forth. I thought Lee would won. Our stream bollocksed up a little bit in round number 2. So didn't get to see a lot of strikes, but even still, I felt that Lee had won the fight. But nonetheless, Rodriguez moves on to a 4-fight win streak now. It's time to play with the big boys. But who have we got for him? I've got one option for him, which I think is good. I mean, potentially 2, but I've left this person out because I think he's due a fight probably ASAP. Then again, Rodriguez is active, man. He could probably step in at any point. So maybe it could happen. I don't know. But either way, I've got Neil Magny. Now, Neil Magny is 26-9, of course. He's a veteran of the game. It'll be a very competitive fight, I think, between the two. And I think it's a perfect test for someone like Daniel Rodriguez. You've got Magny, who's on a bit of a slippery slope at the moment. Got taken out by Shavkat Rakhmonov in his last outing. But then before that, he beat Jeff Neal. Unanimous decision. Okay, you could argue there that decision was wrong. He also won a split decision against Max Griffin. Not the competitive fights, not a landslide at that. But yeah, I think Neil Magny is just gonna be a gatekeeper for the top kind of echelon of the division. So I think someone like D-Rod is an ideal fight for him. But the other option I was going to mention was Michael Chiesa. But I think Michael Chiesa's due a fight, man. He hasn't fought since back in November, against Sean Brady. So he's due one, man. He's due one. But then who would you give Chiesa? I guess you could probably give him Michelle Pereira. Probably an option. Ash shouting D-Rod in the chats there. I've got to bollocks the chats up. I can't get it up at the moment. Yeah, that's pretty much my only option for Neil Magny, I'm afraid. The option I've got for, we could go for potential options for Lee Jingliang. I think I've got one which is, I guess, I'm not really too confident on it. But I would like to see him fight someone like Nicholas Dalby, to be honest, who's 20-4 at the moment. He's looked pretty cool. He's coming off a win against Claudio Silva. That was at UFC London. So, look, I'd say give my boy Dalby a bit of a shot at someone in the top 15. But at the same time, it's like, well, Lee kind of did the UFC a little bit of a solid there by changing opponents. Not to forget that D-Rod's was going to be coming into that fight a bit heavier than him because his fight originally was with Kevin Holland. That was going to be a catchweight. So, maybe the UFC could do him a solid and just give him an opponent slightly up the rankings. It could be Vicente Luque, because Vicente Luque is just game as they come. He's coming off of that devastating TKO finish against Jeff Neal, which is quite surprising. I really fancied Luque in that fight, and I think a lot of you people probably did as well. But I think it would probably be an ideal kind of fight. I can't see him giving him Shavkat Rakhmonov because look, he's 16-0. He needs to be fighting tougher competition. So that's pretty much my 2 cents on that. I'm afraid. Let's move on then. Let's move on to the next fight, which was Bosch, of course. Boars, mate. Khamzat Chimaev. Not surprised. Literally not surprised by the outcome, of course. Look, he faked the jab and shot in straight away. He kind of did the same against Lee. Well, wasn't necessarily a touch of gloves, though. He baited the touch of gloves against Kevin Holland, and Kevin Holland fell for it. Look, Kevin Holland, I felt, done well to fight off the takedowns. He was scrambling a lot. And when you look at Kevin Holland's previous fights against wrestlers, likes of Derek Brunson, likes of Marvin Vettori, he laid on his back for the majority of the time and barely even fought off. But, he was ready to scramble against Chimaev. But look, he couldn't do enough. It just wasn't enough. And props to Chimaev. But like I said, he did almost the same trick to Li Jingliang. It just wasn't as quick. He faked the jab, shot in straight away. So I'm interested to see what the next person can do against Khamzat. And yes, it is going to depend on the type of fighter that he gets paired up with. Because if he's predominantly a striker, then we all know what they're going to try and do. You know, they're going to be ready for planting a knee, a well-timed knee, straight down the middle, and try and land it on Chimaev. Sup, Chase Bishop. Yes, my man, Chase Bishop's in the house. My man, Chase Bishop's in the house. My man, Chase Bishop. My man, Chase Bishop. Man, Chase Bishop's in the house. There you go. We all do jingles over here at ATF, of course. It's just the way we like to operate, mate. It's just the way we like to operate. But yeah, let's know. Yeah, Chase, what did you think of Khamzat Chimaev's performance? Because I don't think we were able to touch base at the watch long. You know, what's your opinions before I get into it? What is your opinions on who should be next for Chimaev? Because you know, I just think it's obvious, and if you up to date with our socials, you would have seen that a bit of an inkling of maybe the options that I'm going to suggest here, because look, they're solid options. I don't want to pick myself up too much, but they are solid options. And look, they're in two different weight classes, of course. And it does depend if he's going to go up or down. Personally, I'd like to see him stay up. Stay down at welterweight, because like which division is going to get you the title the quickest? You know, I think middleweight's getting a bit clogged. The bigger guys, what's the safest option? I think it's got to be. There we go. There's a chat. There we go. Sup, Chase Bishop. Let's go forward then to this is the welterweight division. Obviously nothing has changed. But the options that I've got for him, I like Paulo Costa at middleweight. Matt, at middleweight. Okay, because there was beef. There was beef during fight week. They looked like they were going to scrap. It's going to be a nervy one, I think, because of Costa's power. Costa looks like he's just staying disciplined at the moment, which is really good to see. You know, he's still looking lean, despite, you know, fighting 3 weeks ago, or whatever it was. But I think, you know, it's going to be one of those fights where you got two explosive, and again, you could see fatigue in the second round if it makes second round. Because Costa throws heavy, and Chimaev likes to rush to get takedowns. And I think, you know, that is going to be the route for Chimaev, I think, against someone like Paulo Costa. You know, because the power is going to be too much on the feet. Don't risk it. You might as well try and get this guy down. If you can get Jack Hermansson down in a wrestling match, I think you probably could get Paulo Costa down. But, you know, it's whether or not Costa can survive down there. In the later rounds, I think it would become a little bit easier. But at the same time, Chimaev is going to tire as well. So, oh man, I don't know. John Doe says, Khamzat is absolutely bully. He never faced a man that weight train. Oh, okay, right. So yeah, I guess you're referring to my Costa option. Yeah. You're right, I guess. Yeah. I think it'd be a good one. It'd be so interesting, wouldn't it? Let's be honest. Yeah, I think, man, I don't know. Is it the best option? I think it is the best option at middleweight when you look at that division. You know, I think the UFC can sell it. Would it be a co-main event? Probably. Another question is, can you risk putting Chimaev in a main event spot again? Which leads to the other point. Like I said, I would rather see Chimaev fight at welterweight. But if it's going to be a welterweight, you've got Colby Covington. You know, I think that's kind of a bit of a dream fight. But if that fight's going to get made, it's got to be on a headline of pay-per-view. But do you make that risk if you're the UFC? You know? it's it's just brain numbing because he's getting so much hate for this weight cut. But let's not forget, Yo Romero missed weight a few times. Still fought in the same weight class, still kept going, still headlining events. So, look, I think the MMA community just seems to be a little bit, you know, I don't know. We're like so into it at the moment where it's just any last minute compromise of a main event. It just, I don't know, it does leave you with a bad taste in your mouth a little bit. But at the same time, it was like, we got a better fight in the main event. So, I mean, I don't really get the slander, really. It's not the first time we've seen it. All right, Charles Oliveira had a little bit of an excuse. The scales were supposedly to blame. But look, I don't know. Everyone else struggled with a weight cut that evening anyway. But, yeah, nonetheless, let's read out Chase Bishop's comment. He says, I don't think he's as scary as everyone thinks. He's young, fast, strong. Really? You just named all the scary attributes, my man. He says, after watching the Gilbert fight, I think he's very beatable. I mean, yeah, we did see that. We definitely see that. We saw that, you know, he was, I don't know, in the first round, he kind of got a little bit ahead of himself. You know, he was kind of chasing a little bit too much, especially in the striking area, which led him to get caught a few times. And then when in between rounds, his corner really, you know, kind of got him to focus a little bit and go, look, no, think about setting up your shots. Don't just, you know, throw too wild and make this kind of a scrappy fight because it's too much to lose here. And, you know, and he did win those last 2 rounds, you know. Yeah, he is a young monster. Yeah, for sure. How old is he? Actually, don't even know. Have I checked his age before? He is 28. Man's 28. He's 28. Mate, we've still got loads of time to go for this guy. Whoo! I mean, look. Give him... Oh, don't you give him the Colby fight? I want to see him at welterweight so bad. Look, he's going to be waiting a lot longer for a title fight. And I think we want to see him fight the best of the best. I mean... That's no disrespect to Kevin Holland. Because, let's face it, when you look at the guys that Kevin Holland's fought and beaten, Thiago Santos, Jacare Souza, you know, Jacare in particular, legends of the game. So, you know, he's got that in his locker, man. He can do a lot of damage, is Kevin Holland. He gets a little bit, I think, he's a little bit underrated because of the playfulness we've seen him, especially last year, you know? The fact he just doesn't look like he's taking it serious enough. He's just going to willing to get taken down and just kind of goof around a little bit. But this Kevin Holland at welterweight has looked really good, you know, and it's quite exciting again to see him more often. Yeah, if I go back to the Colby Covington fight, breaking that down, it is going to be the pressure of Covington, the chin of Covington that prevails, and Colby's going to be counter wrestling, I think. He might try. He could very well try and get a takedown on Khamzat. Why not? You know, Colby's gonna have the cardio advantage. So maybe in the later rounds, it would be a struggle for Chimaev. I think that'd be where Colby starts to take over and kind of, you know, almost maybe get into cruise control a little bit. If it's a 5-round fight, I think it's a horrible one for Khamzat. The best case scenario would be Colby for 3 rounds, but I can't see it. Colby wants big fights. Khamzat would be a big fight, but I think it would be on a pay-per-view, a headliner scale. I really do. Here we go. Ash with the ideal question. Bang on point. He says, what do you think sells more? Chimaev versus Costa? Chimaev versus Colby? Oh, man. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. I want to say it'd be Colby. I think so. Look, Costa's popular. He has his ways around the fan base, doesn't he? You know, he's good on social media. He's quite funny. But then he's still, you know, he kind of does lack... We do see his personality, but I don't think as enough as like a Colby does, as we see Colby. Colby's going to be the one really pushing to sell that fight. Better than what I think Costa would do. So for that reason... You know, just bring out the press tour, make it a headliner, and look, put in a backup as well. That comes to think of it. The UFC coming into this fight week, they knew something wasn't kind of 100%. That's why they put on more welterweight fights, right? They knew that it was a bit of a risk because I think it's the level of discipline that Chimaev has. Now, don't get me wrong. I think he's disciplined when it comes to training and things like that. But you know, the media disciplines and the things like weight cutting needs to get it down a little bit. And I think if he works with a nutritionist next time around, then maybe, and he says that to the UFC, then maybe they'll be inclined to put him into a headliner slot. But then still, you need a backup. So who would that backup kind of be? Well, you know, I guess you could very well, it'd be the winner of Sean Brady versus Bilal Muhammad, maybe. Jeff Neal. But still, I think these are slim picking kind of names. You know, I don't think they're going to be huge enough. Ash agrees with Colby. Chase reckons, I think Colby. I do believe Colby is number 2. Yeah. Yeah, he's 2 in the division. He's held it down for so long. But yeah. Yeah, okay, good, solid stuff in the chat, guys. I guess, you know, we've talking a lot about Khamzat here. I mean, we're going to talk about more in just a sec. But I think we should probably move on to Kevin Holland. Now, I've got one option for Kevin Holland. Which one is that Ash suggested to me, actually, earlier. And I think it's a good one. Was it a good one? Oh, no, I'm thinking of... Yeah. No, I'm thinking of the next one for Tony Ferguson. Sorry. No, for Kevin Holland, then, I would like to see him fight somebody like... maybe I don't have an option. No, I can't decide. Muslim Salikov would make sense, personally. He's just outside the rankings. But then Kevin Holland did a solid by, you know, having that opponent change. So... maybe you could give him Li Jingliang. I think it was going to, or D-Rod. I think he wants a D-Rod fight, doesn't he? Oh no, I remember now. It's come to my brain now. He said on Instagram that he would like to fight Rodriguez, or he would like to fight Wonderboy Thompson. I like the Wonderboy fight. I think it'd be a good one. It'd be a good one for him to get into the rankings. Wonderboy's been slipping off a little bit, and I think he'd favour in the striking. I think it's an ideal fight for him. You know, it could be intriguing because Kevin Long has got that long reach for welterweight. You've got the sideways stance of Wonderboy, the karate style, whether or not Holland can deal with it. Holland's got to have to obviously push the pace. Recently, we've seen Wonderboy struggle against grapplers. Kevin Holland is going to grapple, can't really see it. Might not be the most exciting of fights, but maybe Kevin Holland can make it exciting. But yeah, I think I like that one. And the Rodriguez one, I think, would be a technical affair. I think Rodriguez has got quite good reach on him himself. So, yeah, make it happen. I say make it happen this time around. Yeah, I like it. Okay, let's move on then to... Oh, not that one. The co-main event. Oh, co-main event. Co-main event. Oh no, we're on to the main event. Christ, I'm losing track of where we are. Losing track of where we are, guys. This has been talking about Khamzat a lot. Yeah, Chase Bishop said Kevin Holland versus Wonderboy, so he likes that fight as well. What would you guys give that fight out of 10? And where do you score it? Personally, I think I'll give it a 6. I think that's my opinion. Where would you give it? But yeah, we'll get back to that in just a sec. Let's probably get on to the main event. The man himself, Nate Diaz, going out in style, picking up the win against Tony Ferguson in the 4th round, in which was kind of, you know, I had Diaz winning the fight. Nonetheless, I think Tony looked really good in that 3rd round. He looked like he's starting to come into his own a little bit, find his rhythm. He did shoot a little bit of a desperate takedown on Diaz. I think he got a bit fed up of Diaz's pressure. And look, he fell into that guillotine, and that's the thing, man. Diaz is so good with these guillotines. You know, I think he's had maybe a few wins in the past now. Is he not via guillotine? Am I right in saying that? Let's have a look here. Oh no, I haven't got it up. But yeah, he's had many a submission off his back. You know, he's a Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu kind of guy. So look, you know, that was probably the most likely way that he was going to win, because Diaz has not kind of got the Gaethje output. to stop someone like Tony. And for me, I don't think Tony's been the same since that Gaethje fight. I really don't. And it's sad to see all the, it's gutting for the Tony fans because he's very popular, of course. But then it's like, what is next for Tony Ferguson? Well, I mean, I don't. We're going to talk about what's next for Nate Diaz in the new segments in just a sec. All right. And we did touch upon it briefly at the start of the show. So hold that thought for now. We'll talk about what's next for Tony Ferguson. And for me, he is ranked at middleweight, lightweight, which was here. Oh, no, I'm on the wrong screen. There we go. Yes, he was ranked at lightweight. He's dropped down to the bottom 15. Mate, Tony Ferguson. Who would have thought we would ever see this? But one thing we do have to mention is that Conor McGregor has gone up a spot. And so is Islam Magulov. And that's mad. I mean, look, it's still possible that Tony fights somebody like Conor McGregor. I think a lot of people might like to see it. But again, it depends what Tony wants to do. It looks like he's kind of set on just, he's done all the weight cut kind of stuff. He'd probably rather fight a welterweight because there's just less stress. Coming off the back end of his career now. So, we've got, obviously, we can go back to both rankings to have a look. I've got one option, which Ash mentioned earlier to me. It might have been mentioned on social media as well. Maybe someone like Matt Brown. I like the idea. Matt Brown is, is probably similar in age. A veteran of the game, of course, as well. But for that fight for Tony, I think, it's, again, against someone who's quite big, middleweight. He's going to push the pace. He's going to get in you, and he's going to rough you up on the feet. Can't see someone like Matt Brown taking Tony down because I think Tony's going to be far too dangerous off his back. But physically, I think it'd be a horrible fight for Tony. He looks kind of small against Diaz, didn't he? Do you not think that, guys? I mean, look, this comment from Ash will break your heart. He reckons Tony should retire. I think we should have one more. But look, my reason for why Tony's not going to retire just yet, and it's a quote that I pulled in from May of this year. Something that he said, I think, obviously, around the Chandler fight. He said, I can't remember who it was too. It might have been Bloody Elbow or one of those. He said, I had a nice year and a half to think about everything. It's kind of like being put on restriction a little bit. And he says, I got a bunch of fights left. Okay, so that's a fair handful. We'll say maybe 3 or 4. He says, I'm going to be real. I'm willing to be able to fight it out. All right. So maybe he's going down the same route as Nate Diaz, to go out there and not be held under. The promoters here, they act like drug dealers. Sometimes they just throw around a couple of bucks here and there. They're like, come here, kid. Take this. If you don't have the will to say no to that stupid shit, you're going to get fucked, okay? So he's kind of warning the younger fighters a little bit. We've seen recently the likes of Thiago Santos jumping ship. Guy who's ranked, okay, bit of a slippery slope. But, sorry, I was just going back there for a sec, just clicking that back on. Yeah, like I said, a bit of a slippery slope. So it kind of made sense for him to move on. Shane Burgos, on the other hand, he'd been up and down in the featherweight division. Still entertaining as hell. Still keeps going. Was coming off of a win. Was ranked as well. Jumped over to PFL. So look, I think in years to come, we're going to see these younger fighters probably take less contracts. I think the UFC will want to tie them down for a long period. But, I think maybe their managers might just turn around and go, no, we want to lower that number because, who knows where we're going to be at. I think people are going to be a lot cautious fighting on the come up a little bit because, but then at the same time, you need that kind of run, I guess, that initial run to get kind of some momentum, some popularity in the sport because the UFC is obviously the pace to watch. It's got the most eyeballs. So you want to be in the UFC for that reasons. But, you know, maybe you need, I think they do start them off low. They must be 3-fight contract. And then obviously see how you go from there, bump you up to maybe another 3 or 5, depending on obviously how well you're doing. If you're starching guys in the first round by a knockout, of course, maybe eventually they're going to look at you and go, all right, let's offer you, you know, a 5-year deal after 2 fights left on your contract. Yeah, I mean, it seems like Tony, the way he's at in his career, he wants to see out the contract. You know, even though UFC aren't going to cut him. He's a veteran of the game. He's entertaining. He's popular. His record recently is not great, but they're still going to keep him around, and they're going to afford to lose him when he finishes his contract. Chase Bishop says, I like that fight. Matt Brown, yes, he needs to be done. CTE is an issue with Tony. I know, man. I feel it, man. I do. But then at the same time, like, I can see him fighting at welterweight. But if he did want to just go back down to lightweight, the ideal fight for him would be Dan Hooker. It would. And I think we probably mentioned it before on this channel. Would make sense. You know, I think for both guys. But it's whether or not he wants to do it. You know, let us know your thoughts, guys. Let us know your thoughts. That was the rankings recap. Yeah, I like if I go back now to welterweight, look at the bottom there. Do you give Tony Ferguson against someone like maybe Michael Chiesa? It could be possible, but do you even give him a ranked opponent at this point? Kind of sad a little bit. I don't know. I'll let him keep going, but yeah. All right, let's move on then to some socials then, shall we? Because we got a lot to talk about. Bear with. The first thing we're going to be talking about is very sad. You know, it's something which we was not expecting to see this week. It deserves to be touched upon, I think, and to bring it up first makes sense. You know, Elias Theodora, man, I've been saying this to people all week. Probably the best looking geezer to rock the octagon. You know, I think he got out of the game a little bit too early. That was due to trying to get sanctioned medical marijuana. He was, I think, fighting on the local circuit for a little while. Yeah, man, he was on a 3-fight win streak. Hadn't fought since December 2021. Lost to Derek Brunson. Was his last UFC fight in Canada. And before that, wins over Eric Anders, Trevor Smith, Dan Kelly, Cesar Ferreira, Sam Alvey, you know. Very, very sad to see. Yeah, I see the article reads, he was 19-3, he was a veteran, 22 MMA bouts, an 8-3 run in the UFC, so that's still good. Still good. Won the Ultimate Fighter, can't forget to mention that as well, Nations of Middleweight. Look, you know, he was an entertaining watch, and look, he was the first ever ring boy, you know, for Invicta. Like, oh, sorry, bring that up again. Yeah, I think that was, you think, props to him. It takes a lot of balls to do that. But look, who else is going to do it? Who else? So yes, paying respects here from ATF crew for Elias Theodora and his family. Of course, gone too soon, way too soon. Sad to see. Moving on then to another story, which, look, I think I had to kind of bring this up a little bit because for ages it kind of puzzled me. I was like, why has this happened? Like, how? But you know, we got some answers. Yeah, it says, yes, John Kavanagh and Johnny Walker kicked out of the arena, and Dana White has responded to it. He did kind of clear it up. I say clear it up. It wasn't really much of a clear up, to be honest. But he did kind of say, in pain, because obviously I can't read it down here. He says, I guess ever since COVID, actually I think it's a poor excuse, they started this thing where you get the fighters right out of here. I don't know why that happened or what happened. We're not going to throw Johnny Walker out the street shoeless, I'm sure. Look, some security guy messed up. Let's put it this way. That's what it sounds like, in my opinion. Maybe it was just a security guy who's just very COVID cautious. I don't know. There couldn't have been a lack of understanding because Coach Kavanagh's there. Literally shoes and like, you know, the tweet came in from Kavanagh. And he says, so UFC just came and kicked us out. No tickets for us, not allowed to stay backstage to watch. Pulled out the door, kicked out, no even shoes on. Like, man, that baffles me. I don't know. It's the disrespect is insane. Like, that's crazy. Especially a guy who's been on a rut. He's got himself a win back against a tough guy in Kuta, and he gets chucked out on the streets. The video is kind of funny. So if you haven't seen the video just yet, do check it out after this stream. And yeah, it's on Coach Kavanagh's Twitter page there. To check it out. Let's move on then to, I think, probably the biggest, one of the biggest stories, I think, to come out of the weekend, which is there's some tweets from Conor McGregor, and just kind of Conor's reaction to Nate Diaz, really, his win and his thoughts and what he spoke with Rogan about. He kind of said, I want to get out of the UFC for a minute and show all these UFC fighters how to take over and own up another sport, how you're supposed to do it, because Conor McGregor didn't know how to do it. None of these fighters know how to do it. So it almost sounds like he wants a top boxer, really, but surely not. I don't think so. I think he's, in a way, in his quote there, he's kind of keeping his cards close to his chest, because I think the fans are probably going to, they've got some inkling of what's going to be next. Let's face it, right? And he says, so I'm going to go out there and I'm going to take over another profession and become the best at that. Now, if you're thinking about the same idea as me, then this person's not really the best at boxing. Let's be real. Okay. He says, show everybody I'm the best at that, and then I'm going to be right the fuck back here to get a fucking UFC title. I think that's almost like a promise to his fans, really. A little bit. You know, he's leaving the door open for potential move. I think it's the right thing to do, you know, because I think it's more or less a wait and see in a way. You know, I think by him saying that, it's a good impression on the UFC. They're like, okay, you know, we can pretty much get Nate back for at any point for like a one fight. Because I can't see Nate tying a multiple deal down. Imagine if he goes PFL. That'd be a massive money. I'm getting my millions at PFL. Oh, that'd be class. But yeah, who knows? You know, but at the same time, I think the UFC will probably want to. They've got some ideas of their own, you know, locked away. I'm sure, and he'll probably be paid handsomely, a lot better this time around. And of course, Conor McGregor congratulated Nate, and he said, "Congrats, Nate Diaz, on making it to the end of your contractual obligations with the UFC, and as a bona fide superstar goer, an incredible feat. Fair play. Our trilogy will happen. Let's pray, ladies and gentlemen." Conor McGregor says it will happen. I think Conor McGregor, I like I said before, multiple times on this channel, I felt that the UFC were trying to hold Nate down for the Conor McGregor fight to be in his last on his contract. I think they were really stalling Nate. Nate, I think, was forced to take the fight. I don't really know. Let us know even in the chat how you think the scenario was going down, because it was racking my brain. It was almost like Diaz was desperate to fight, but then at one point it almost seemed like that Diaz wasn't going to accept the Chimaev one. So look, I don't know. Either way, Diaz, I think, won at the weekend. You know, he obviously beat Tony, but you know, he won in terms of the better matchup. But a tweet that Conor McGregor made, and he had deleted it, but we got it, was, come on, bro, I'm absolutely stinking, and with so much quality, this has never been seen before. What I'm doing, man. Please, you're nothing without me. Respect, please. I'd slap you around handy and Tony easy. I'd have sawed Tony in half. 2 handball heads. Respect the king. So look, you know, it's Conor doing what Conor does best. put his little bit of a sprinkle onto the post-fight stuff, make things a little bit excited, get the fans kind of like speculating what's going to be next for Diaz. I can't see it just yet. Like I said, I think I think Nate will go away. He'll be back up for the Jake Paul Anderson Silva fight, which happens, I think, in December. Sai says how, of course, he wants to fight Nate. Easy money. I think he's on about in terms of Conor. Well, don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, I think in that time, we'll see Nate go and do his thing. He looks like he's going to be setting up his fight promotion. We'll see how that goes because that's going to be a lot of work nonetheless. If he's going to stay active and fight. Can't see him fighting any top boxers, really. I can't. It'd be just kind of dream matchups. Yeah, I think he'll wait for the Jake Paul fight. Let's be real. Conor, in the meantime, I think will come back and he'll fight someone else. To be honest, it doesn't matter who Conor McGregor fights. That Diaz fight will always be there. So I think the UFC will get him back at some point. Quick chiming in. Yes, Weak Sauce. Welcome in, my man. He says, I want to see Khamzat versus Michel Pereira. It's a fun one. I can see it stylistically as a fun one. Pereira's got some climbing to do. But yeah, I think I can see where you're at. But I think Pereira would kind of gas out. I think the relentlessness of Khamzat would be too much for him. Personally, in my opinion. But yeah, all right, let's move on then to... That's it. That's all we got. I even forgot how many stories we had then. Actually, no. Oh, yeah, we have got one more, which is on the back of the Khamzat story, which I think is kind of a bit... it's important to mention. This came out quite late yesterday. Brett Okamoto said he spoke to Khamzat's coach, Andreas Michael, weird first and last name, this morning. He told me his guess is their next fight is at middleweight at the end of the year. Also described everything that happened during the weight cut. He said it was his decision to stop the cut, not the physician's. But at the same time, I think, you know, someone must have called for the doctors come in, I think. You know, I think it maybe was partly his decision. You know, he just physically couldn't go anymore. And the fight was going to be in jeopardy. But yeah, in terms of middleweight, I think it's possible. We spoke about it in the watch along. Could also be Jared Cannonier, because Cannonier is without an opponent and wanted to fight towards the back end of the year. If you're going to give Khamzat Cannonier, that's a look straight up into the middleweight rankings. You know, above Paulo Costa. So, you know, but, you know, it is a winnable fight as well. So for the UFC, I think it'd be an ideal option for them to put. From a fan's point of view, Paulo Costa would be the one at middleweight, if it's going to be at middleweight. Personally, like I said before, I want Colby Covington. All right, cool. That pretty much wraps up the news segment and everything we got to talk about of all things UFC 279. So if you enjoyed the video so far, smash a like. Don't forget to smash a like your mama smash you when you was 5 years old, or you know, staying out too late and swearing when you're on Xbox, however old you are. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This weekend, we got another watch along, of course, UFC Vegas 60. We got Corey Sandhagen taking on Song Yadong. God, I nearly slipped my mind there. Chidi Njokuani, he's back as well. He's fighting Gregory Rodriguez. What a fight. That's going to be in the co-main event. The card is a good one. It's a good one, man. I think some really good fun fights in it. Can't wait to break it down with you guys. Do stay tuned on our socials as well. We've got the links in the description for all the announcements that are going to be coming. And when the live video is up on our YouTube channel, don't forget to set a reminder on it. So then when you know when to tune in, when that main card kicks off. And of course, hit the notifications bell as well. I'm JK. This has been your UFC 279 Aftermath show. Been a pleasure. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you next time. Hit a like, hit a subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one.